Welcome back. A senior official at Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency is taking a leadership role at the U.S. Agency for International Development. That's according to an email obtained by the Associated Press, which came the same day that a federal judge ruled that Musk and Doge appeared to have no constitutional authority for their effort to shut down that organization. The email stated that Secretary of State Marco Rubio will designate Jeremy Lewin as deputy administrator for the position. Lewin is a Doge official who has worked with Musk's government-cutting efforts at USAID and other federal agencies. Joining us now to talk more about this story and others, Democratic Congressman Beyer from Virginia. Congressman, thank you for being with us here on Scripps News. I want to start with that AP report on Doge taking over USAID leadership. Your thoughts?
Well, it sounds like it's at least one step less illegitimate than the things they've done so far. You know, when he burst into the building just about a month ago with no constitutional authority, no appointments from the Secretary Rubio, and basically just told all these employees that they were fired and pushed them out of the building and stopped paying $2 billion worth of contracts that had already been earned. Or just basically trying to take an agency that was founded by an act of Congress and signed by presidents and on his own without any authority trying to eliminate the whole thing. The judge's order to reinstate all this is very, very encouraging. And if the president and Marco Rubio actually put people in legitimate places, you know, acting directors, undersecretaries, assistant secretaries, then at least they're following the process and the law, which is much more encouraging.
So it sounds like you're encouraged then by that decision by that judge yesterday to basically try and wind back a number of those decisions. Is USAID, though, too far gone? I mean, a lot of the employees presumably have already been fired. Some are on administrative leave. But has the damage been done?
Nate, a great deal of damage has been done, but we don't want to walk away. We have 50 years of deep investment in USAID and building up disease fighting and lifting up people all around the world. So just because Doge and Musk made a huge damage to it, we need to start rebuilding. And the judge's order is a very good first start. By the way, that doesn't mean you can't think.
Please.
You know, the new president can't think through all the things the USAID does and redirect it in appropriate ways, but that wasn't the way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, a question here on presidential authority. I mean, you know, look, despite some of these filings, Doge very much continuing its sweep through the federal government. You were at the U.S. Institute for Peace earlier this week. You said you were turned away. What jurisdiction does the president have then over changing some of these government agencies or what Doge is trying to do to trim the size and scale of the federal government?
Yeah, well, you know, the USIP, the U.S. Institute for Peace, was particularly outrageous because that's not even a government agency. It's an independent 501c3 nonprofit chartered by Congress. It has its own piece of land, its own budget, its own board. It gets some money from the federal government, but so does SpaceX and Tesla and everyone else. So there's no right for the president to come in and fire its board and for the D.C. police and Elon Musk to take it over. At USAID, there's a little more rationale because at least it's a federal agency, but they can't just throw out the will of Congress. Trump's like pretending with Musk's help that Congress doesn't exist and that the formal budget doesn't exist. And that's just unconstitutional and illegal.
Is the cure for that then in the courts? Is this really just a case destined for the U.S. Supreme Court over the power of a president?
Yeah, you know, it's not in the short run in Congress. Democrats don't have a majority, you know, but hopefully we will get more and more Republicans coming over with us to help us stop the Trump abuses. But yeah, in the short term, it's the courts. But Nate, in the middle term and the long term, it's the American people. Because Donald Trump, Elon Musk can't get away with what the American people don't approve of, what they reject. And you know, he started with his all-time high at 53% approval ratings. If and when that falls, and it seems to be falling quickly, he will be able to do less and less of these outrageous things.
Yeah, I want to talk to you. I mean, Democrats, as you noticed, in the minority, excuse me, in the House and the Senate, there is some possibility of them trying to at least, you know, put pressure at least on the administration. Last week, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer decided to prevent a government shutdown, passing a government funding bill drafted by Republicans, fiercely opposed by you and your other Democratic colleagues in the House of Representatives. Your Democratic colleague from Maryland, Congressman Glenn Ivey, said that it might be time for Senate Democrats to get a new leader. Do you agree?
Oh, I'm not in the Senate. We sort of leave that business to themselves. I know. I do think that I disagreed with what Chuck Schumer did. I do think he did it in good faith. His concern that Trump could do more damage in a government shutdown than he could if we kept it open. I voted no because this new budget that was passed, the continuing resolution, basically gives him much more flexibility to ravage these government agencies with less ability of the courts to step in and stop it, as Judge Chang did with the USAID. We really want, it should be, as there has been through the years, a tension but a partnership between the executive branch and the legislative branch. In this particular case, Trump is ignoring the executive branch completely, and we didn't want to empower him to do that even more.
Have you heard from constituents who believe that Democrats, yourself included, could be doing more to push back on the Trump administration?
Yeah, almost every call, Nate. Yes. People are so frustrated. I have not a completely unusual situation, but I have more federal employees than any other member of Congress. 14,000 have already been fired, and that doesn't include the contract employees. So yeah, they're all really angry, and they want me and everyone else to do everything we possibly can. We're not powerless, but we can't pass legislation. So we look to everything else we can do that is dramatic and strong. That was one of the votes for the shutdown last week, that was one of the most obvious ways we could resist Donald Trump.
Congressman Don Beyer, Democrat from Virginia, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you joining us here on Scripps News.
Thank you, Nate, very much.